All right, we will deny that. Nice slow spell on a minion. It's probably going to be GG right there, unless if they have deny. They have their own deny, which means we could still do 4. Boink.
It is not yet there. They are under my protection.
Thank you, Shen. We got to keep both of our guys alive. Let's go. Let's go! Oh no, Frostbite. Frostbite's better than Barrier. But I like what I'm working with. Maybe not this guy. He's a 4-drop. Doesn't help us that much right now. Zed's pretty dope. We don't have any way to actually give something Barrier in our hand, which is kind of crazy. But we draw into stuff pretty easily. Like we have a lot of Barrier in this deck, obviously, as it is the build-around mechanic. All right, what you got? Let's start with our fantastic 2/1 that sometimes gets in for 2 free damage on turn 1. They are also playing mono, which implies to me they're probably playing Yetis or something as well. I feel like Yetis are pretty common if you're gonna go only Freljord, Felyord. Yes. Okay. They're having a slow start, but it's going to be explosive when it happens. No, we want to draw a spell, so we're going to play this.
River shape the land and give it life.
We'll probably just trade this in, even if they got nothing. Man. Okay, well, we got to do this to protect it.
You're in over your head.
They're probably going to freeze this with a Brittle Frost to keep this alive. Because this card is disgusting. This is one of the this might be my favorite card in all of Runeterra.
What form will the waters take?
It's tough because he kills through barrier. So it's the one he does because he doesn't deal damage. His ability is kills something he strikes with 0 power. I can't play anything this turn. I gotta keep this up. I hope he pulls this. This would be awesome if he pulls this, and then I get blocked there, and I can give it +3/+0. He's got no mana, so we have free reign depending on what he does here. So they got to be very careful about what they decide to pull. What are they thinking? Ask me if I give a fuck. I say fuck no. Okay, what do we want to kill here? Go here, go here. +3/+0 this round. This gets +2/+0, so we kill Ash, we keep this alive, and we kill both of their things. I am down with that. And I get a spell. Another deny. Playing Ash and then leaving yourself with 0 mana is so fucking risky, man. People, like, Ash is a good champion, but it is hard to, they're hard to use, or, you know, you gotta be careful how you use them. This is fast, so we can attack with Shen in this and have, you know, do fast shenanigans. I don't think that they were planning on losing both those things. I wonder what they were playing around. Whatever it wasn't the +3/+0 and barrier. We did switch and run one of these, Spirit Refuge, because if a deck was just going a little too aggressive, I felt the lifesteal was actually relevant. I do prefer the +3/0 in barrier because it's just better most of the time, but lifesteal can be relevant against an elusive deck or something. It's probably just not as good of a card, but that's going to run a 1 of it. And I'm sure in some decks it's actually better. Or you just run both versions at like max capacity. Probably a Fiora deck you do. Did they give up? Or are they really thinking? Cool.
Sweep them away.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Did one of them say dreams, or is that song stuck in my head right now? If they block anything, we will single combat it to death, probably, even if it's Shen. Eh, maybe not. We'll see what we draw first. I mean, we could single target this to hit it for... I don't think that's good enough. I'd rather just wait for something slightly more powerful. Hey, well, you know what? There's that too. Let's go. Good game. Drawing all the spells, killing all their stuff. People got to stop playing Ashe when they have no mana. You got to be able to freeze to keep Ashe alive. Fiora Karma. This is clearly a mirror match. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not, but if they were playing barrier stuff, like if their deck was based around barrier, they would be playing Shen. But this is pretty good. I don't know if this is good. Honestly, I just said it out loud, but I've never actually had a chance to play this card. I think it's a one of in this deck, and I've never actually played it before because I see 4 mana 3/1 challenger, and it creates another challenger. It sounds like a really bad removal spell. I don't know. But maybe we'll be impressed by it, especially in a deck with... I put it in here, even though it sounds bad, because we have barrier and stuff, right? So we potentially have a way to get... Why didn't we play this? We potentially have a way to get more value out of it. I literally lost 2 damage for no reason. Hopefully it doesn't... I was too busy ranting about a card that I've never played of, acting like I knew what the fuck I'm talking about. Sure. I was gonna bluff and see if they had a card they could play in response, but this is still good. It might prevent them from playing something where they would have played it, though. I will attack for 6. So, even though they have Karma and Fiora, I don't usually think of Fiora as a... I think we have to go for it. Maybe we don't. Because this is fast in response to them trying to do something. I mean, I guess everything barrier is burst, though. Oh, that's really nice, though. They can't barrier that away. We could even do that at burst speed, too. Oh, that's really good. I don't want to play this because I want to be able to play this and something else, probably. Oh, he can't do it to a follower. I'm so stupid. I can still play single combat twice, though. I mean, you have to do it to a follower. Sorry, you can't do it to a champion. I mean, that makes sense. I will just play this now.
Gentlemen, ladies, the honor is yours.
Because, yeah, this requires them to have a few more protection spells, I think. Ooh. We have 5. Okay, let's just pop this down. It's just a preemptive, it's basically the same as single combat, but it develops a body, because we could have this block this. And it pulls out a spell from them. Well, let's make them let's at least use that barrier while we have the chance, right? And we actually get a, unless they have another one, we'll get a random challenger in our hand. They did have deny. So they did have literally every control spell they needed. That's one bad thing. Like, Ionia is so crazy with their removal, man. I will attack.
I'll stop you.
We have almost the same play next turn, though. Not exactly, but we have this one, and we can try to target it again. I mean, we know that they have mostly spells, and it's going to be really hard, but we have prevented Fiora from getting anything so far. If they cast a burst spell, do I get a chance to react to it afterwards? Not exactly what I want to do, but it, you know, it slows down their Fiora. Actually, we could have single combated it, and then it would have hit twice. They didn't have another spell.
You'll soon understand my methods.
I mean, how many more protection spells do they have? We're just gonna do this. Like, I feel like we have to get through it eventually. Right? Like, we're running out of cards. They have a lot of cards. And they could keep protecting Fiora. So, I think, unless we just, like, force them to have it, that... Alright, well, that was pretty nice. Never mind. They currently only have, what, units in their hand? I probably don't have any spells, because I bet every spell is a protection. This card's really nice when you could give it barrier, because it gets really big really fast. I could give that, I would like to have, I made a mistake. I wanted to purify that to get rid of its tough ahead of time. But should be fine. Might as well hold it now. Couple misplays this game so far, I will admit. We could play our whole hand though. Hopefully this guy gets some value for us. This only hits followers, so let's just do it. I still don't want to give up this guy. Dealing 2 damage to him. They have a lot of tons of mana, tons of spells. Or tons of cards, rather. I mean, I don't know how many of them are spells. Really hoping we can get some cards out of this guy. We like, really need it. That's a really good card to grab. I want the card more first, so I put this first, even though this is the most damage. We could switch and give them barrier. They might Will of Ionia. I don't think if we swap 2 allies, I don't think Will of Ionia loses its target. I don't think it targets like the square it's on. I'm pretty sure it targets the card. That would be interesting. I haven't thought about the interaction really though, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't change anything. This thing gets reset to a 2/2 if they ever recall it, so that's a good target for him. But this thing gives me cards. Look at that fat horse. Oh, it's not that fat. It is kind of a dumb horse, though. Judgment, 2 damage to everything. Okay. I could keep everything alive and lose some damage. This is lethal, though. So, let's see what else they have. I mean, I assumed that they were going to block and I wouldn't have lethal. Like, I knew I was threatening lethal, but I didn't even mention it because it's like, I thought for sure. But if this is their whole plan, then we did top deck something really good for it. All right, they are alive at 2. Actually, though, they don't even gain life from it. Wait, did they gain life from it? Oh, because it struck everything. Absolutely, you are correct. That's a pretty good card to get from that. You know, it's 2 minions in 1. Wow, that's pretty nice with this too.
These are dangerous lands.
I've got the right card for you. Those are some good top decks. I'm not gonna pretend like my luck is not real.
Silent as death.
We're still gonna, like, now that we know that they have judgments, like, how many do they have? I don't know. It's too big. They can't stop this with the judgment, though, right now. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna block the 2/3. They probably have a way to protect it.
You call that sneaky?
This guy isn't attacking 8/8, though. So we'll see what they get. We have to attack right away, even if they have judgment. Like, actually, this might just be better than judgment if they're gonna save judgment. This will keep this guy alive too.
Eye of twilight sees all.
So we're giving him a chance to play a card. just because Shen is really good. All right, so they're gonna play Judgment. We are gonna put this. Sorry, let's take this all back. Let's have you attack first, and we'll have you attack second. You're gonna support this guy, and then you guys are all gonna be over here. Come on, Shen. Shen is really good. I think that he's just overshined by some more powerful champions, like, you know, the Hecarims of the world and the Heimerdingers, even like Fiora to an extent. But a 4-mana 2/5, and like probably Braum, honestly, as well. But getting free barrier on attack on a 2/5 body is just good. Like I think Shen is probably better than you give him credit for. Plus his support cards are designed at keeping him and his allies alive, so I think that he's pretty good at being synergistic with his support cards. Obviously, all the champions are synergistic with their support cards, but not to the same extent. Like, it's different. Like, his support cards help keep him alive, which is nice, instead of just helping him do, like, more damage or something. So he helped get more value out of it. What is your card? Yours is Key Strike? No, you got Shen's Stand United. Stand United has been surprisingly good. I still think it's a worse version of the double Frostbite card for the most part, but it does allow us for some tricky things. And they're doing everything they can. We're calling my minion, and they're doing Judgment. You're gonna do 2 damage to everything. Will not kill this. It will kill all that stuff though. Okay. I would have done that in the opposite order to deal 2 damage to that. Doesn't make any difference, but boink. Discard a spell, grant me health equal to its cost. I mean, that's pretty bad, isn't it?
Where you go, I go.
They did manage to stay alive at 1, which is very impressive. Judgment is a very, very powerful card, but it's not, you know, it doesn't answer everything. This is actually a better card right now than Judgment, so we will absolutely play this instead. And we're going to play both cards, but let's play them in the order that we would care about them. Although this is a better blocker. But man, this card fucking sucks, right? I do like that artwork, though. Oh, that's like the silence thing. We're at 18. Do we care? Not really. I can't block this, and this is a 2/3. Nothing could block that safely besides this, and it's probably going to stay. I don't care about that. He's at 1, I'm at 10. I've got more minions. We probably give Shen +1/+1 to help keep him alive. Oh, man. Okay, he surrendered. I was like, all right, I don't know what else they could have, but drawing extra cards is probably too good to give up. I'd let him play a card there. Good game. Yeah, that was a long one. Not as easy. Like, I thought I had him for a couple turns there, but Judgment, man, that card is really powerful. Luckily, it's not as good against Barrier as it is some other things, but that is another situation where Frostbite's better, because they use Judgment, you just Frostbite their thing to 0 attack. Suddenly Judgment's 8 mana, do 0 damage to all enemies. What do we got? Okay, this card is fantastic. I don't even know if we want single combat, though, this early. At least not with this hand. Okay. I could dig it. I can dig it. This card is a card-drawn machine. Potentially, anyway. No way to get this and Barrier in the same turn, though, so I may not want to play it right away. I might want to play it the following turn. Then again, when an ally gets Barrier, I wonder if this is how this works. We'll just find out. Would we trade our guy in? Maybe. Okay, like it's burst, so we don't really care. I could play him and then draw a card as well, so I think I probably will do that. Unless we want to play this and this, but that seems a little more greedy. This seems a little more tempo focused. I don't think it gets the plus until after you play it. Yeah, it does not.
Rivers shape the land and give it life.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot that Key Strike lets us draw a card too. Is it Key Strike? Key Guardian. I like that card a lot, actually. I guess it is 2 to draw 1 card, but you know, obviously in the Barrier effect. Yeah, the draw 1 is actually fantastic. Alright, let's see what they do here. I don't care about losing this, not really. Okay. I'll take a free spell, thank you. Looks like they're probably playing Yasuo if they're playing this. Is that what they said? Yeah, Yasuo Katarina. Every time this strikes, it draws a spell too, which is just so nuts. Just need to keep some spell mana up. If we want this up, we probably don't. We're probably okay with just barrier so we can get this down and develop more pressure. I will say Yasuo, I think, can get under our barrier. Because I think they could probably burst. Like, they could play things that I can't react to. That stuns my stuff. Definitely gonna stun that, yeah. Okay. Although that is an ability I could react to, which is interesting.
These woods protect their own. Summon your own speed.
Okay, and I suppose I block and I do this. That way they have to have something else. They can give it 2 more life and it would still die. Boink. Alright, that's nice. We're going with the 5 mana this turn, so we can Prismatic Barrier, Key Guardian. I think we just attack here. Because they're definitely going to be tempted to block, and probably not want to block this, because they know the damage is going to be nutso-butso. We can only barrier one thing, though, so something's going to die here. Or, you know, we could just go for super lethal, potentially. But I doubt it. Because this gives a +5. 4. Okay, I will barrier this. I assume they have a way to stun attacking creature. Keep their 3/2 alive. Maybe they have a way to ping my 2/1. Alright, they care about damage. I think that's actually a questionable. I mean, they are saving a lot of face, of course, but...
No going back.
I don't want to play this. It's a burst spell. Lets me draw a card. I think I want to play Katarina here. Or sorry, this guy. Because I get to use him with the barrier, and he becomes strong enough to kill Katarina. And I don't care if he dies or gets stunned in response. That's pretty nice. That's actually great lethal, too. Like, great potential lethal, anyway. We're looking pretty good, but, you know, a Yasuo could mess us up here. Yes. I don't think we give anything premature. Can they... I don't know what they could do at 4 mana. I think we just develop the pressure right now.
2 worlds, 1 balance.
I mean, I'm sure they can kill some stuff, but I doubt that they have something that bounces everything back. Lifesteal, we don't care about that. I would gladly block with this and not care. What you got? How many times do you have to see? 4 times? Okay. Recall an ally? That's... I don't think that's particularly strong. We're going up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to give this guy barrier at burst speed.
Come, take refuge.
Just to draw a card. And actually, I think... maybe it wasn't relevant, right? Because this isn't the card that matters. We would have drawn this one regardless. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 next turn. So we actually can't even play it. So if actually by playing key, we aren't able to play stand, united, and deny. Which is fantastic. Alright, I think we bop bop, pull this, and then we go bop, bop, bop. Alright, let's see what they got. We've got some good tricks of our own. They probably got some good stuns here. We could sneak in for 9, 10, 11. Can they stun something at burst speed? They could recall an ally. We could deny that. We don't. Do we want to deny that? No. It still becomes blocked, right? So what do I want to do here? Do I want to deny that so I kill their Yasuo? I can't deny that and keep both my guys alive, so maybe I don't. But maybe killing Yasuo. They're trying to obviously keep Yasuo alive, right? I kind of want to just play this. And switch this over here to get in for 9, 10, 11 extra damage. This puts him at 1 if he has no more interaction. And this stays alive because this doesn't do anything. But this, so all of our stuff stays alive here. Alright, let's see what they got.
The balance will decide your fate.
I am going to pocket this mana. I don't really want to recall anything particularly right now. Not at this stage in the game. And now we have the ability to barrier things to level up Shen. +3/+0 this round. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's like a better version of this passive. Alright, we will deny that. Nice slow spell on a minion. It's probably going to be GG right there. Unless, if they have the deny. They have their own deny, which means we could still do 4. Boink.
It is not yet there. They are under my protection.
Thank you, Shen. We got to keep both of our guys alive. Let's go. Let's go! All right, good game. That was actually a really fun game. Tough units take 1 less damage for every attack. I wish it was like tough X, like in Magic, like tough 1, and then there's tough 2 where you take 2 damage from every less source. I know it gets more powerful each time the number goes up, it gets more and more disgusting, but I do wish there was like some cards that could scale with it. None of this stuff is that synergistic. Okay, got a barrier payoff. We got a barrier. I mean, it's just, the barrier 1-drop is not the payoff, like, necessarily, but it is nuts. There's no way to give it overwhelm in these colors, though. There's, I think you have to go into Noxious to get overwhelm. But I think it's very intentional. I don't think they want this card to have overwhelm. I think we just go with the really cheesy Inspiring Mentor into Elusive thing, though. It's a better 1/2. All right. Good job. And then we can follow up. This is still like good on turn 3, and these two are, I don't know, are probably not as good on turn 3. They're going to attack us for 2 or more. We will allow such tragedies to occur.
There's always a way out.
We probably give this one more HP because this is just more valuable in general than this is, but we'll see what they do. It looks like we're playing an Elusive deck because that's the common 1/2 for the deck, but if all we're going to play this turn is this and this, I don't really care about that damage. I might even play this and just Key Guardian. Let's just attack for 4, though. I think that's what we're going to do no matter what. We're not developing much more pressure. This is one of the problem cards, in my opinion. A 2-mana 3/2 is already well statted. Like, it's a good stats. Like, it's good at blocking. It's decent at blocking. It's good at trading. And it's great at attacking, and it has Elusive on top of it. I think we give this barrier, though, because this will already give this barrier. We don't need to do it in right now, though. We can just pocket the mana and use it whenever when we need a blocker. Why am I cracking my fingers on my YouTube video? Because I'm a madman. This is actually probably better to give it to. +2/+2, and so 4/4. I want to drop this. And then I want to Key Guardian this. And then I want to play this onto this, probably. Either way, I want to start with this. We could also use Riposte. Which we might. I mean, Riposte on anything is pretty good. If we use it, we'll have 1 mana left. We'll go up to 5 next turn. Okay, they're not doing anything. We'll just play Key Guardian on you then. We will not Riposte. And then we do not, the barrier stays on it. It's weird that there's no, okay, it does say Key Guardian. It's like, it's weird that it doesn't tell me that this is the card with the barrier on it. I kind of wish it glue gold in my hand. Glue gold. I wonder if when they're going to add card backs also. I'm excited for new card backs. We are going to end the round, yeah. Yeah, I want to keep this stuff. I want to keep these for offensive, like attacking things. Boink. So I like that it gets barrier in your hand, but the barrier doesn't get applied till it plays in the field, so it is synergistic with things like this card and Shen. I thought it was not synergistic because of the wording. It gives it here, not on the field, but I want to keep 4 mana up, which means we're going to play one of these. Give this barrier.
My shield is yours.
Swinging for 5, or make this 1/1 a 2/2. We don't care about this being 1 point stronger. I don't really care about the extra 1 point of damage. I care about this being at 4 for any reason. If this has 1 more attack, it can't be blocked by this. An ally and enemy each strike each other. I mean, I guess we just do this right now. Make them have a barrier as well. Make them use more mana than they intended. All right. Got him. All right. We will. You're going to get in. You'll go ahead and attack. You're not going to get blocked. You're going to bring up this. You're a 4/1 now, so we don't care. This thing having 3 health just makes this a bad trade for it. And that's the only significance I see. So this could trade here with the 4/1. Which is fine, because this was a 1/1. I wasn't even going to attack with it, but they forced my hand without having a good backup plan. Ka-thoink, ka-thoink. Ka-thoink, ka-thoink. Alright, this might be unwinnable for him now. We have a huge board. 1, 2, 3. Why is it so hard for me to count the fucking mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They will have enough for judgment next turn, but we do have a barrier. So let's just make sure not to block more than we have to. But the issue with judgment is that it's really good if you're way behind. It's like super powerful because no. I'd rather have this block. Judgment, if you're way behind and they're attacking all out for lethal, then you could sometimes wipe their entire board with like 1 powerful minion. 1 unit can kill 8 units. Or 6 rather, sorry. So that's why Judgment's good. Like if they have Judgment here, we're in trouble. Which is why you don't want to attack with more than you have to attack with. Because we attack with this and this. They can't block this. They could block this in Judgment. Then we could barrier this to keep it alive. We could actually just deny the barrier though. So why are we being so crazy? Let's just play Shen instead. Shen's obviously super powerful. I think we run 2 denies. This is the exact kind of matchup I think it's good against, or good. They are playing, I know they're playing the Frost stuff, and they are playing 5 things. Their deck may not be refined. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit right now. Not 100% sure, but maybe it's an insane build. But we haven't really seen much Frost cards, mostly Demacia.
To me.
We'll absolutely keep this alive. You know what? Let's keep this alive. Let's put this in first. If they let that through, they die.
Steady my hand.
And we'll put this up here. 5. We'll attack up here like this. So they got to block this. We could have just given this barrier, but we already know they're going to block it, and I have a protection for it.
Shine with me.
And this is still way lethal, so we wouldn't even have to do anything about it.
Whoa. Hey.
Still way lethal, so we still don't have to do anything about it.
I won't back down.
Come on. Judgment. Judgment. You... Oh, wait, you don't have any mana for that. All right, that was that. We did it. Good job. So today, basically, I just wanted to mess with barrier stuff. So I went in here, looked up barrier, and just kind of wanted to look at the full package, see what they have. And a lot of this stuff is actually surprisingly good. I do have some issues with barrier overall. Like, a lot of the times, it does feel like you are just getting a worse version of Frostbite as a combat trick. Because Frostbite kind of does the same thing in barrier. They're both similar. They both kind of prevent damage in a way. But Frostbite is good against certain things like Judgment, for example. Frostbite has a card that just instantly kills, like the Frostfang Wolf can instantly kill things. And it helps you just be more offensive overall with like Ash making it so Frostbite things can't block, essentially. So, but the barrier is still, again, it's very similar, and there are some benefits, like Frostbite can't protect your minions from damage removal or from other Fiora decks that are trying to, not riposte you, but they're trying to single combat you to death by getting all your things. Like, Frostbite doesn't help you against that. I guess you could Frostbite the Fiora, but sometimes, you know, they have a lot of stuff to go with it, while barrier just keeps your thing alive from a damage source. So there's definitely some pros and cons. I've had a good time with this deck overall. Surprisingly fun. I like combat tricks. Obviously, as you can see, everything's burst speed. Everything that does barrier is burst speed, so there's no interaction on your opponent's side, which is actually one of my complaints about the current state of the game. I just think there's too many things that affect combat that are at burst speed. Removal spells and stuff, for the most part, aren't. They're at fast, but there's so many, like, side-by-side, +3/+3, and you can't interact with it. And then just, like, give things barrier, +3/+0, and barrier, all at burst speed. Like, I do think there's a bit too much of that, but if you're going to make a actual legit barrier deck, I recommend running Fiora, because sometimes it's just a great target for barrier stuff, and sometimes they win. It's a 3-mana 3/3 challenger, so you get to choose what to kill most of the time, and obviously sometimes you just win with Fiora anyway. But I don't have any Fioras, and I just don't have enough wild cards or gems right now to make it. Like, I have less than enough to make one thing. 'Cause I've been trying to make a lot of commons, uncommons, and rares and stuff. Or what are they called? Commons, rares, epics. Greenglade Caretaker. This card has been, it's just like ridiculously powerful. I thought it would be pretty bad because, I mean, 1 mana 1/2 is good because most 1-drops are like 1/1s. Sometimes there are 2/1s, things like, but this blocks a lot of the common 1-drops. 1/2 is a good stat line for a 1 mana card. And the upside of this thing is sometimes it ends the game as, you know, like an 11-2. Or if you have the Inspiring Mentor out and this becomes a 2/3 and you instead hold it till 2, it becomes slightly harder to remove. It still gets killed by Black Spear. You know, we know the things it gets killed by. But the good thing about this card, as opposed to other 1-drops that carry the game, is this whole deck support is barrier. So it's this card itself is not harder to remove than some other 1-drops that are important, but the entire card pool around this card that supports this card is designed to keep this card alive, just like Shen. Like, Shen might not be as good as Ash in a lot of things, and it may not be as good as, like, I don't even, like, maybe it's not as good as Braum at the Challenger, you know, at the defensive thing. So maybe it's not as good as some of these other champions and their things, but his support cards are all based around keeping him alive, so he can frequently, it's really hard to kill a Shen or a Greenglade Caretaker, just because you always have burst speed answers to their removal for the most part. There are some, like Will of Ionia, really annoying. It resets the card. Vengeance, you know, things that just kill it outright. Purify, that one is brutal. If they just remove all the keywords from it, and suddenly, yeah, there are removal pieces that do a great job, but most damage removal avalanches, things like that, will have a hard time. Judgment will have a hard time taking care of you. So I wanted to mess with a lot of the barrier stuff, and I kind of put it all on a deck at first, did a few games, and I kind of started refining it a little bit. I would say this is far from a refined list, but it is. I have had success with it, decent success, just playing normal games. This card is ridiculous, a 9 mana 9/9, attack or play, give all allies barrier, but it is 9 mana in a deck we don't want to have. We want to draw this at the very end of the game, and most games don't go this late. So I do have it as a one of, like in the late game, kind of like in a Ledro spot. If you're playing Shadow Isles and you want the commander to just close out games, that's kind of what this is, an over-the-top thing that kills it. It would probably be better if he had Overwhelm instead of Barrier himself, because he already, I mean, that would make too powerful, I'm sure, but the fact that he has Barrier and he gives himself Barrier when he enters the battlefield is a little weird. I kind of wish he had a different keyword, as the card is really powerful, really strong, but it requires a full board for it to actually be broken, or it requires other minions on your side of the field to actually be broken. Whereas some of the Shadow Isle ones, for example, are good just on their own. And it is a 9 mana 9/9 barrier on its own, but that's not exactly worth 9 mana, I would say, in most situations. Other of the barrier cards that I fell in love with are 2 mana 3/2. I swear to God, this is a 2 mana 2/2. Maybe I'm just thinking about in the closed beta. Maybe I just misread the card, but one, that's fantastic artwork. But a 2 mana 3/2 is so much better. It's just great stats, great at attacking in a deck that, again, this is an offensive deck. Barrier is a defensive ability for the most part, but it helps with trades. It helps just kill their things, and it helps get in for extra damage, especially with the Green Glade. This thing wants to hit face or hit next as much as it can. So a 2 mana 3/2 that also gives something barrier. Like, it's so frequent, you play this on one, and then on turn 2, you get to play this, and now suddenly this is a 3/2, and this is a 3/2. This 3/2 has barrier. They don't want to attack into it, so they just skip their attacking turn. So you can actually prevent a lot of damage that way. Just a great 2-drop. 1-drop is fantastic. 2-drop's fantastic. Shen is good. Key Guardian, I think, is really good. So the way it's worded, grant barrier to an ally in hand. So the way you would think that is an ally in your hand gets barrier, right? That's what it says it does, and you draw one. That's the most important part, honestly. But it's not really what it does. What it does is when you play the card from your hand, it gets barrier. So what it means is I've seen allies gain barrier, and when an ally gets barrier, both of these still synergize with Key Guardian. When you play the card, it then gets barrier, so it synergizes with Shen, and it's very, very important. The draw one is honestly the reason you play this. 2 mana for a burst to give a card in your hand barrier is like decent. It's pretty good. Like, it's fine. Especially if you're gonna play that card, and you want to trade it in, or it has Challenger. That's why we're running some Challenger in this deck, which we'll get to. But it's really the draw one. It's having a decent effect, and a cycle at burst speed is really good. Obviously, we're running a couple of these. I think we're running all 3. Yeah. 3 mana, give an ally barrier this round. It's a little bit on the weaker end, but it is one of the cheaper sources of this, so it lets us better weave in. It's easier to weave into turns than the much better Riposte, which is +3/+0 on barrier. The reason that we're not running more of this card, even though it is really good, how many are we actually running? We're running 2 Riposte. The reason we're not running all 3 is because a lot of times I didn't feel that +3/+0 was that important, because a lot of times they're blocking this because it gets so big, and you don't need to give this +5/0 when it gets barrier. That's usually overkill. So a prismatic barrier is usually good enough, or one of these is good enough. But it is still a phenomenal card, especially for sneaking in damage or just trading up with things. But we ran 2 of these and 1 of these, Spirit Refuge. I was having issues with some like super Mistwraithy aggro stuff, and I thought throwing 1 of these in here to get lifesteal once instead on one of this, like if this thing gets up to like 11 attack or something, to instantly heal your Nexus to full to help reset the game and make it a little bit harder for them to kill you. I thought that was it was nice to have a 1 of. Stand United is a card we're running 2 of. Sorry, we're running 1 of in the deck. Very impressed by the card overall. The card is so good at letting you sneak in for damage, which is mostly what I use it for. Sometimes they'll have 2 things. You'll be attack with 2 things. They'll block with 2 things. You'll swap it, and you'll just kill both of their things. It's also good for proccing Shen, getting Shen to level up, which is of course. But also, if they're blocking this like they always are, and you have like 1 more minion than they do, you could swap the unblocked minion with this, and then it gets also +2/+0, and it gets in for like a bunch of damage. So you can easily get cheesy lethals with this burst spell. Overall, it's a very flexible card. It is 6 mana. I feel like it's probably a little bit worse than the double Frostbite card overall. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's slightly better actually than the Frostbite card. They're both in the same spot, right? This is 2 allies, give them barrier, but you also get to swap them around, basically however you want. Frostbite lets you frostbite 2 things. They're both 6 mana burst spells. I think this one might be slightly more powerful. Even if some of the other support cards I feel like might be weaker than Frost in general. This one I think might be slightly more powerful. It's hard to say. Also, I didn't mention it, but when Shen levels up after he sees 4 allies gain barrier, and he gives barrier himself when he supports an ally, which is just, you know, again, it's pretty good. He becomes a 3/6, so +1/+1, and whenever an ally gets barrier, give it +3/+0 this round, so he becomes very offensive for a board. So obviously things like this suddenly give allies, you know, 2 allies +3/+0 as well, becomes super powerful. This gives an ally +6/+0. This gives an ally when you play it +3/+0. So it's good. It's not like a build that is not necessarily super build aroundy. I don't think, even though this is a barrier deck and Shen is the barrier champion, I don't feel like he's as necessary. The support ability, I think, is usually better than the level up ability because I just don't get that to happen very much. Let's take a look at that art. That's pretty cool. So the other thing besides the barrier thing that we're running is we're trying to just run cards that are like, hey, what's really good with, okay, we're running one thing that's not very good with that. We're running 2 of the Navori Conspirator, and we're running 3 of the Inspiring Mentor. Neither of these are very synergistic with the game plan of our deck. However, this 1-drop into this 2-drop when you're in Ionia is just powerful, and it just sometimes gets in for 3, then 6, you know, or it gets in for 8 damage some games. It's really good for sneaking in for a lot of damage, and then when he's done trading in for damage, he could usually trade up. Very, very powerful card, especially when you have an Inspiring Mentor that you want to replay anyway. So these are just kind of cheesy, but they're in there because they're overall good together. Outside of that, the things that are, we want targets that are good to give barrier to, because we're giving barrier to a lot of things. That beyond this is good to give barrier to. This isn't necessarily good to give barrier to. It's fine. So we wanted other minions that are good. Anything with Challenger, obviously, fantastic to give barrier to because it lets you basically kill things. It becomes like a Rhyme Fang Wolf-esque situation. So we run in the 1-drop 2/1. Sometimes I love this playing this card because a lot of times they don't have a 1-drop. You just play this, boom, you get in for 2 damage. You're 10% done with her Nexus health already. And then later in the game, this is really good at trading. Like it can kill Zed, right? When you attack, you can kill Zed. You can even give this, you give a barrier. I lost my thought for a second there. And then it could trade with Zed and still stay alive. Other cards that we're running 1 Purify. Purify is a really good card overall. It's sometimes dead, but there's a lot of matchups it is good. I use this once on like an Undying, you know, it just becomes a 2/2, a 3-mana 2/2 that doesn't do anything. That's very good. Obviously, if they're doing like a Karma, it's getting stronger. You know, they do stuff, you can, boom, burst speed it, make it just a 3/3. Other things, single combat's obviously good in a deck where we're doing a lot of barrier stuff. Again, just lets us trade. This is basically really cheap removal. But you have to pair it with something for the most part. But sometimes if you just attack and they have a valuable thing on the back line, like they have the 5-mana 3/3 Frostbite something at the start of every turn. I can't remember the name of it, but you could just be like, oh, I could attack, deal damage, and then strike that, you know. So you get to get in for damage and then remove something as well, or force a trade. War Chiefs is a card I think I would actually upgrade the amount I run. This card, 2-mana 2/3 support, give my ally supported +1/+1 this round. I found this to be surprisingly good in general because they really want to block this and not the thing it's supporting. They want to get rid of the effect. So this was one of the cards that I felt was better with the +3/+0 and barrier because they would usually trade it and they would think they'd be safe, and then this would end up killing their thing, and while still getting in for, you know, buffing other things for the turn. It's not a phenomenal card, but it was really nice when you go like, you have Shen support this and have this support another thing, and then they try to kill the middle of the support, and then like you could really mess up their math, you know, when they're trying to figure out how much damage you're dealing with. I feel like a card like this. Deny is obviously fantastic. Don't need to explain it. River Shaper, this is a card you've probably seen before, but I think this card is probably one of the build around cards for the barrier deck. 3-mana 2/1 strike, draw a spell. I mean, just striking to draw a card. You get to cast this, if they block it, you get to cast a spell on it to give it barrier, keep it alive, and then you replace that spell. If you don't want to do that, it still draws you a card. If they don't block it at all, it just generates you a card also, and it stays alive. So this card is just ridiculous. Sometimes it could draw you 3 cards a game, 4 cards a game. And it's drawing cards in this deck that keeps itself alive. So it's like he's like his own built-in engine. Sometimes he'll just draw you Deny twice or something, but it doesn't help keep himself alive. But most of the spells in this deck are things that will keep him alive. So very, very good. We have a few spots here that I think could be shifted around. I didn't actually get a chance to play this card. I played this deck quite a few times. I just never drew this. 4 mana, give an ally +2/+2. I'm going to remove that right now. I'd run 2 of these. 4 mana, 3/1 challenger. Strike, create a random challenger follower in hand. This is a card that I just look at and I'm like, wow, this card sucks. But when I'm actually playing with it, it feels pretty good. And I think, again, it's just in this specific deck. Being able to have a challenger and barrier something, and then when the barrier thing kills something and lives and puts a card in your hand to give you more value, suddenly it's doing a lot of work for a little bit of investment. For the cost of a card, you're killing one of their things and you're replacing that card. Usually what it replaces with is a random challenger. There's a lot of not great challengers, but it's still cards. It just gives you things to play. If you start running out of gas, this card is fantastic. So I'd bump this up to a 2 of. Riposte, we've already talked about. This card probably could be bumped up as well. 4 mana 2/2, attack, grant me +2/+2. Perfect example of a card that you want to protect. When he starts attacking, they're going to block it early. And then once he gets through with like 1 attack, and then the second time he's attacking, he's a 6/6, they usually aren't going to attack it again or block it again. They're going to try to Will of Ionia it, or even they start chumping it, then you don't care, right? Because then you're just removing their stuff every turn. So this is a card that benefits really great from some early barrier shenanigans. And that's everything. Karma's in here because I like Karma. That's basically it. Karma is not particularly good in this deck. Sometimes she'll give you a cool spell. Don't put Karma in here over something like a Vanguard, probably. Let's just grab that right now. Let's grab Vanguard. Boom. Where's that at? Boom. Grant that. What's this card called? LAU. Let's throw another one of these in there. I got 4 wild cards. Let's do it. There we go. This is the list that I'd more recommend. It still needs more refining. 1 Zed's kind of awkward. 1 Purify is a little awkward, I feel like. But this list is definitely more powerful than the one that I was just showing you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the games. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time. Purplatypus is Purplatypus.